Somewhere in a returns database, there is a customer who has been refunded for 40 orders that all supposedly never arrived. 40 packages, 40 separate claims, every one of them ending the same way. It left our warehouse, it never reached your door, here is your money back. On its own, any single one of those claims is ordinary. Parcels really do go missing, couriers really do leave packages at the wrong house, but 40 in a row to one account is not bad luck. It is a pattern, and somewhere a system finally noticed the shape of it. This is the quiet war inside every online store, not the dramatic kind of theft, but a slow leak through the one promise retailers make to win your trust. You can send it back, you can get your money. And a small number of people have turned that promise into a business. What refund fraud actually is. Refund fraud is getting your money back for something you were not actually owed. The goods arrived fine or arrived at all, and the customer claims otherwise to keep both the item and the cash. It is theft dressed up as a routine customer service request. The reason it works is that returns are built on trust by default. A store that argues with every unhappy customer loses far more in goodwill than it saves. So the easy path, the profitable path, is to believe people. Fraud lives in the gap between believing people and being able to prove anything. The common claims, most refund fraud hides behind a handful of ordinary stories, the same ones an honest customer might genuinely tell. That is the whole point. The claim has to be the kind of thing that happens to real people all the time. The first is the item never arrived. The tracking says delivered, the customer says it is not here, and now it is one person's word against the courier scan. The second is that it arrived empty, or broken, or clearly the wrong item, so the box came but the value did not. The third is a quiet swap, where something real is returned, but not the thing that was actually bought. Each of these maps onto a true thing that does happen by accident. Packages are stolen off porches, items do break in transit, warehouses do pick the wrong thing. The fraud works precisely because it borrows the texture of honest mistakes, and honest mistakes are common enough that a store cannot simply refuse them all. When refunds become a business, for most people, a false refund is a one-off temptation, a single parcel they decide to lie about. That is a rounding error to a large retailer. The real problem is the organized version, where refunds stop being an accident and become the entire model. Så en each, at that scale, it stops looking like a customer and starts looking like an operation. The same stories get filed over and over across many accounts against many stores as a repeatable way to extract money. Some of it is sold as a service, where one person files the claims on behalf of others for a cut. The goods or the refunds are the product. Seen from the inside, it has the texture of a small logistics business rather than a crime. There are accounts to manage, addresses to rotate, a sense of which stores are soft and which are not. It persists for the same reason a lot of fraud persists. There is no single dramatic act to point at, just a steady volume of ordinary-looking claims, each one individually deniable. Why generous policies are the target? The stores that get hit hardest are often the ones trying hardest to be liked. Free returns, no questions asked, instant refunds before the item is even back. Every one of those policies exists to win customers, and every one of them widens the door that fraud walks through. An instant refund on a claim, issued before anything is checked, is fast and pleasant for the honest majority. It is also a gift to anyone willing to lie, because the money moves before the proof does. The more frictionless a policy is, the more attractive it is to abuse, and the people who abuse it specifically look for the softest doors. Satan. They cannot simply tighten everything without losing the honest customers the policy was built for. That bind is the whole reason detection exists. Detection starts with history. The first thing a retailer looks at is not the claim, it is the person making it. A single never arrived report from an account with years of clean orders barely registers. The same report from an account that has filed 5 of them this month is a different thing entirely. This is why your account quietly carries a record. How many orders you have placed, how many you have returned, how many times you have said a package never came, how many times you have claimed something arrived damaged. None of it is visible to you, but all of it is sitting there, building a picture of how risky your next claim is to believe. The logic is the same as a credit history, except it is scoring your honesty about deliveries instead of your repayment of loans. A long, boring, low return record buys you the benefit of the doubt. A short record stacked with claims spends it. Pattern analysis across customers, a single account only tells you so much. The sharper view comes from stepping back and looking at everyone at once, because fraud that hides perfectly at the level of one customer often stands out the moment you compare customers to each other. One person claiming a package never arrived is noise. 50 accounts claiming the exact same product never arrived, from the same area in the same week, is a signal no honest pattern produces. Real customers are scattered and irregular. Organized abuse, trying to scale, tends to repeat itself in ways that only become visible in the aggregate. So the systems look for clustering. The same claim, the same product, the same delivery address showing up across supposedly unrelated accounts. The lie is rarely in any single claim. It is in the shape of all of them together, and that shape is exactly what a person filing one claim cannot see. Delivery proof and carrier data against the most common claim, the never arrived one. The strongest answer is evidence from the delivery itself. The tracking scan that says the parcel reached the address, the timestamp, the route, the handheld device that recorded it. Increasingly, a photo the driver took of the package on the doorstep. Carriers feed a surprising amount of data back to retailers. The GPS point where the delivery scan happened, whether it matched the shipping address, how heavy the parcel was when it left, and whether a return came back at the right weight. An empty box claim runs straight into a weight log that says the return weighed almost nothing. None of this is perfect. Packages really are stolen after a valid delivery, and an honest customer can be caught on the wrong side of good evidence. But it shifts the question from one person's word against another to something closer to a record, and a record is much harder to argue with at scale. Serial returner scoring. Out of all this history, retailers built something like a risk score for returns. Quietly in the background, every shopper sits somewhere on a scale from obviously honest to repeatedly suspicious. The industry sometimes calls the high-end serial returners. A high score does not mean an automatic accusation, it means friction. The instant refund gets held until the item is actually inspected. The claim gets routed to a human instead of approved by default. The next return requires the package back before any money moves. The policy quietly tightens for the people most likely to be abusing it and loosens for everyone else. The uncomfortable part is that this scoring is invisible and imperfect. A genuinely unlucky customer who happened to receive 3 broken items in a row can look identical to an abuser on a graph. The system is making a bet on probability, not a finding of fact, and sometimes it bets wrong against an honest person. Linking accounts that share signals. The organized version of refund fraud relies on having many accounts, because one account that files endless claims burns out fast. So a lot of detection is aimed at undoing that, at proving that a dozen separate looking accounts are really one operation. The links are the things people forget to vary. A shared delivery address, a payment method that reappears, the same device or browser fingerprint behind accounts that are supposed to belong to strangers, the same home network. Each of these is a thread, and pulling on enough of them collapses a crowd of accounts back into a single actor. Once accounts are linked, the history stops being something you can escape by starting fresh. The new account inherits the suspicion of the old ones it is tied to. A clean-looking profile that quietly shares a device with 5 accounts already flagged for refund abuse is not clean at all, and the linking is what reveals it. The cat and mouse. None of this ends because the incentives never go away. As long as easy refunds are profitable to abuse, someone will find better ways to abuse them, and every defense that works simply teaches the other side what working now looks like. Stores that demanded the item back before refunding taught abusers to return a different item or an empty box that weighs about right. Stores that leaned on delivery photos taught them to claim the photo shows the wrong door. Every control narrows the gap, and the response is to find a new gap. The loop is the same one you see across all of fraud, just played out in returns. The defenders know they cannot win outright. The goal is not zero fraud, which would require treating every customer like a suspect and destroying the business in the process. The goal is to make abuse expensive and slow enough that the honest experience stays smooth for almost everyone. The cost of getting it wrong. The reason this stays hard is that both kinds of error are expensive. Approve too many false claims, and the leak drains real money year after year, quietly raising costs. Challenge too many real customers, and you insult the honest majority. The whole return policy was built to please. A wrongly refused refund is not just one lost sale. It is a customer who tells people the store called them a liar over a parcel that genuinely never came. That reputational cost is real and hard to measure, which is exactly why retailers lean toward believing people, right up until the evidence against an account becomes overwhelming. So the scoring runs quietly and conservatively. Most customers never feel it. The friction is reserved for the accounts where the pattern has become too loud to ignore, and even then it usually shows up as a small delay or an extra check rather than an open accusation. The defensive view from the inside. From the retailer's side, none of this is about catching people for sport. It is about protecting a promise they actually want to keep. Easy returns genuinely do build loyalty, and the entire detection apparatus exists so that the promise can survive contact with the small number who exploit it. The people running these systems talk about it in calm, ordinary terms. Acceptable loss rates, friction budgets, the cost of a false positive against the cost of a false negative. It is risk management, not a manhunt. They are trying to keep the front door open and welcoming while quietly watching the people who keep walking out the back with the goods and the refund both. That is the balance the whole thing turns on. Trust the customer by default because that is good business and most customers deserve it. But never trust blindly because a small minority will treat blind trust as a business opportunity, and at scale that opportunity is enormous. The quiet score on every order, so here is the tension that never resolves. The easier a store makes it to send something back, the more customers it wins and the more loyalty it builds. And the easier it makes it, the more it invites the exact behavior it cannot afford. There is no setting that gives you frictionless returns and zero abuse at the same time. So every store that offers easy returns is also quietly scoring you, weighing your history, comparing you to everyone else, deciding before you even file a claim how much of your word it is willing to take. You will probably never see it. For the honest majority, it stays invisible for life, just a smooth return whenever you need one. But it is always there, running in the background, the unspoken cost of a promise that only works because somebody is quietly watching, who keeps it and who does not. If this kind of breakdown is your thing, subscribe and follow the rabbit hole. There is a hidden machine behind almost everything you do online, and once you start seeing the systems quietly scoring you, you cannot unsee them. Next time we go inside the war happening underneath the apps on your phone, where money flows to fake installs and nobody on either side ever admits how much of it is invented. That one is called fake app installs, the hidden war in mobile advertising.